Episode 6 of The Boys Season 4 opens with Billy Butcher and Kessler interrogating Samir, who they have now chained up in an abandoned warehouse. The scientist is initially resistant, but Butcher continues to inflict pain on him by poking the stub where his leg was amputated. Butcher tells him he has only a matter of weeks to make the serum, or he'll kill him. The scene shifted to Huey and his mom as they prepare for Hugh Campbell's funeral. Everyone is very sad at the fact that Frenchie had turned himself in for the murder of Colin's parents and many other things he had done. Just then we see a young guy screaming abortion is murder. Kimiko goes to meet Frenchie at the station, but they informed her that the inmates, which is Frenchie, refuses to receive any visitation. Kimiko is shocked by this. Meanwhile, the scene cut to Firecracker, who has now taken over Cameron Coleman's time slot on VNN, where she continues to spout absurd conspiracy theories. Firecracker reports that Coleman is on sabbatical, despite having been a part of his murder. We see Emma at the office meditating just to receive a call from A-Train, who is very scared and asking Emma to meet up so they could talk, as they killed Coleman thinking he was the leak. Emma tell A-Train to calm down and they will process this whole situation together. Emma informed his team as he is worried that Homelander has begun using Supes as his private military, and also told them that Sister Sage was seen talking to Tech Knight about the potential rebellion. So they plan going to the event where Homelander organized, but firstly, Emma goes to Webweaver's rundown apartment, giving him opioids as a payment. Webweaver, already high off of other substances, asks Emma to inject the drugs into his web shooting hole, located right above his butt, and then falls unconscious. Huey walks into the apartment and helps steal Webweaver's costume. Homelander and his son Ryan then arrive at Tech Knight's mansion for his gala. Homelander is then approached by Tech Knight, who talks about a future team-up, but Homelander says that his and Sister Sage's rebellion is not a team-up. Huey puts on the Webweaver costume in front of the crew, and they all laugh while also complaining about this foul smell, which assures him will help throw Tech Knight off their scent. Huey walks into Tech Knight's mansion wearing the costume and is shocked to find the 7 in attendance. While planting bugs around the party, Huey bumps into Neuman, but she fails to recognize him. Tech Knight approaches the disguised Huey, also unable to recognize him, having also never previously met Webweaver. Tech Knight talks about his excitement over hiring Webweaver as his sidekick, much to Huey's confusion. Neuman walks up to Homelander and Sister Sage, complaining about the gala. Once Sage leaves, Homelander implies that he suspects that Neuman broke Edgar out of prison. Meanwhile, Webweaver and Tech Knight go on a tour and he went on showing him his tech cave. Just as they go down with an elevator, Emma lost signal with Huey. Huey is surprised by all this. Tech Knight told him he doesn't like lies and began using his powers on Huey to see if he's lying. But he just believed Webweaver. Huey is just really surprised by all he had seen. Meanwhile, the Deep finds Black Noir drinking without his mask. Noir talks about how he feels unimportant to the team and not being able to grasp Noir's bizarre personality, including his obsession with Buster Beaver. He then reveals to the Deep that he is quitting the 7, but Deep convinces him to stay by threatening him. Panicked Annie expresses that they need to go inside the mansion, fearing Huey's fate. Annie and Kimiko finally convince Mother's Milk to join them in breaking into Tech Knight's mansion, fearing that Huey will be exposed and killed. We see Butcher vomiting his guts out as he now very sick. He hallucinates Becca, where she questions his end goal of killing Homelander only to stand with another. Neuman imagines blowing up her own head while listening to Calhoun mansplaining abortion, expressing her growing frustration to Sage. Sister Sage then informed Neuman that she had the knowledge to cure cancer and other deadly diseases, but then what is the point as she believes all human are animals? Firecracker goes to meet up with Homelander, Sage, and Neuman, but immediately get thrown out of their conversation as Sage tells her what they are having now is a private conversation. At Tech Knight Cave, they brought a cake for Webweaver since it's his favorite. They began performing some herogasm together. He ordered Webweaver to fart. Just then Ashley comes in and she's angry they all started without her. And they both hug, which low-key saved Huey. Butcher is still like shit and he discussed with his friend who motivated him, saying the real him loved the sound of scream. Nearby at the event, Firecracker is in tears as she just got rejected by Homelander himself. Just as she walked out of the restroom, she came across Starlight, who informed her she's not here for her. They began yapping about what she did to her when she was young, and Starlight apologized to her while also preparing to stab her with an injection, which she did so. Tech Knight and Ashley make out. He goes to meet Webweaver and found out that he's still afraid. He became suspicious and went on removing his mask only for him to find Huey. He believes this is all good news to him as he only not get point for catching him, but before he expose him to Homelander, he get to design a hole in Huey's body and then get intimate with him. And Kimiko discover Sister Sage rummaging through Tech Knight's library, resulting in holding the soup at gunpoint. Sage begins to mock about his daughter, causing him to shoot her in the head out of sheer rage, just as Kimiko activates the elevator to the tech cave. In shock at his actions, collapses, causing Kimiko to convince A-Train to take him to a hospital. Annie and Kimiko then take the elevator to the tech cave and attack Tech Knight before he harms Huey. Meanwhile, we see Homelander discussing to Sage about their plan, but it seems she isn't okay as part of her brain are all messed up. She began talking trash, just then Homelander find a hole in her skull. He tell her to get a grip at herself. Homelander goes his plan as he will now do it by himself. Homelander begins to talk in front of the intoxicated GOP donors, claiming that President-elect Robert Singer will destroy the country, claiming that Neuman is on their side. But when he was asked about how to prevent the consequences on how it will affect the nation, he couldn't answer. Neuman then steps in, claiming that she is the mastermind, denouncing democracy, promising the GOP donors that she will make sure that their businesses will receive zero government interference. Meanwhile, Annie and Kimiko have now tied up Tech Knight and proceeded to stab him, which only arouses him. Tech Knight's former sidekick breaks free from his restraints and hands Huey his laptop. Having gained access to all of Tech Knight's bank accounts, the three begin to send all of his money to liberal causes, which hurt him so bad. He informed them about the plans Homelander and Sage had about internment camps as they need places across the country to put their dissidents. Just then, his assistant began torturing him as he planned making his death look like an accident. Meanwhile, Mend is okay at the hospital as it was just a panic attack, but he needs rest to avoid heart attack. Kimiko returns to the prison where Frenchie is being held and tells the guard that she has nowhere else to go. Firecracker informed Homelander that Starlight was at the mansion and also informed him that Tech Knight is dead. Just then, Homelander figured out that Coleman wasn't the leak, as how did they get the information about the party? So Firecracker told him either Sage was lying to him or she's as useless as a mouse. Just as Firecracker began talking, Homelander asked her saying so she was the one who let Starlight escape, and how does he know she isn't the leak? Firecracker tried proving herself as it was Homelander who brought her into the Seven and he means everything to her. She began unzipping her suit, but Homelander then tells her he is not sexually attracted to her. But she told him it not about sex but about loyalty and began spilling her milk on him. Homelander is surprised as she isn't pregnant. She explained to him how she did it, while Homelander is amazed by all this, like how she all did all that for just him. Homelander began having some of those milk. Annie watched a recording of Neuman's speech. Annie tries to talk to Huey, but he is too paralyzed by what happened to him at the tech cave. Butcher bringing Samir the material to create the virus. The scientist tearfully confesses that creating a strain of the virus powerful enough to kill Homelander would be unstable and become airborne, killing every single soup on Earth, which includes Annie, Kimiko, Ryan. He argued with his friend, only for us to realize he wasn't real as all this was just an illusion, and it was never real as he too was just a figment of Butcher's imagination. The episode then came to an end. Subscribe to get updated on the remaining episode next week.